This is the biggest risk in franchise history. The Miami Heat, once again, in connections to all-star point guard Ja Morant after recent turmoil taking place in Memphis between him and the rest of the coaching staff. We'll break down the odds that Miami actually makes this move and tries to acquire Ja Morant, as well as why they absolutely should go in the opposite direction. We'll break down all of that and all the moving parts involved in this situation on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, please do remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button. Help us hit our new goal of 3,000 subscribers. We do appreciate it, so thank you guys. But now let's get to it and break down why we have to shut this down. This is not the first time or even the second or third time we have heard this conversation or had this conversation on this channel. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, let's just jump through some of the few screenshots. And this is far from all of them, as this dates back, 2, if not 3 years now, that Miami has been in talks, at least surrounding the conversation with Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies, who we all know is a younger player who has a lot of potential out in front of him, but because of the injuries and all of the things going on off the court, it just doesn't look like a appropriate move for this Miami Heat team to make, especially at the price it would cost them to go out there and acquire someone like Morant, who is an all-star point guard. And again, he is very young, so there's the conversation and debate that, yes, despite what we've seen up to this point, it could all change depending on if he just continues to be a basketball player strictly and a basketball player first. So to jump around, Heat Culture, this is from June 5th of this year, and it doesn't end there. If you continue, June 9th or 16th of this year, again, Bill Simmons bringing up how Miami should do it. Another talking point about Miami going out there and making a move. October 15th of this year as well, another mock trade from Bleacher Report, breaking down Miami sending a boatload of a package back to Memphis in exchange for just Ja Morant. And if you look at some of these players and looking at how they're playing now compared to how some of them can't play now, it's just been craziness for the last year and some change, 2 years, if you will. And it doesn't feel like it's going to stop as Bleacher Report continues to put out new mock trades day after day. The newest one that I saw involved Tyler Hero and $8.5 million of salary exemptions, I guess, from Ja Morant's contract or Tyler Hero's contract. Then Ja Morant in exchange, a one for one, basically in the sense of player assets. But then Miami picking up some of the contract coming from Tyler Hero when he goes to Memphis in this case. It's craziness. And again, look at some of these packages: Wiggins, Nico, Jaime, Pella, a 29 first rounder, a 31 first rounder pick swap for Ja Morant. Looking at that now, Jaime's been one of the best player, if not the best player for Miami up to this point. And if you continue, Terry Rozier, Jaime, Kasparis, a 2030 first round, a top 5 protected, 2032 first round pick. These are crazy trade packages going back to Memphis in exchange for one player in Ja Morant, who you can legitimately make the argument has regressed since he really took over the league, posterizing everyone, including Victor Wembanyama, which his athleticism is undeniable. That is something that I think will never go questioned because of just how freakishly bouncy Ja Morant is. But because of the things taking place off the basketball court now, with getting in arguments and being just disgruntled publicly to the media about the front office and the coaching staff, as well as just not being the healthiest player in the world. And I know injuries are uncontrollable and it happens to absolutely everybody, but it is something that has been an occurrence in his young career up to this point. So to fill you in with the newest information and why this conversation is once again peaking right now, only 8 games into this NBA season, Shams went on to ESPN this morning, or yesterday morning I should say, and broke down how there has been a 1-game suspension handed to Ja Morant. Now, why did this happen? Well, it's because in the postgame of 2 days ago, I believe on the 1st of November, the Memphis Grizzlies played a game. They ended up losing. Ja Morant wasn't very productive in that game. He wasn't in the game much. And when he was asked about it postgame, I actually had to verify this wasn't AI. And based off of this tweet from Shams, I figured out that it wasn't. This was a real video of Ja Morant postgame, getting dressed, throwing on a hoodie, and answering a few questions. He was very blunt. He was very, very short in his answers. And he was straightforward without a doubt. It was basically ask the coaching staff, and then he was asked really what changed offensively for the team. And I'm paraphrasing greatly. The actual quote is in front of you. The font is just so small on my screen, I can't read it. But the idea is the same. Ja Morant was then asked about the offensive changing, and then he said something along the lines of, according to them, probably don't play me. And that was along the lines of why he wasn't playing, what changed with the offense, why it got better, why it got worse, and why he wasn't a part of it. Again, just going at the coaching staff, specifically the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, which resulted in that one-game suspension as the rest of the coaching staff, including the head coach, went on to question the leadership and really the character of Ja Morant. Not the greatest situation in Memphis right now, as Ja Morant is arguably their best player. Yes, Jaren Jackson is still there. Desmond Bane is now in Orlando. So really it's that two-man show with Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant. Now, with Ja being at this point, emotionally, mentally, with this team, are we going to see it continue? Are we going to see him moved? I would say that they probably try to move him. And based off quotes from Brian Windhorst, it doesn't seem like he is going to have a, quote, robust, end of quote, trade market this season because of everything that has taken place through his young career up to this point that hasn't been all that productive or all that good, if you will, in the sense of the stuff happening off the court, the stuff with the injuries, and now this. It's overall, it's just not a really good situation for Ja Morant and really all parties included. And that's why I think Miami should absolutely stay away from going out there and trying to acquire like Ja Morant, especially us. And that's before we even get into the mock trades and the things we've already broken down earlier in this video. Some of these packages are just absurd. Yeah, this package looks promising because Terry Rozier would no longer be a part of this Miami Heat team, and they wouldn't have to pay someone who actively can't play for them because of a federal gambling investigation he is currently being investigated for, as well as Chauncey Billups and others. But then you look at what Jaime Jaquez Jr., he has been undeniable. Another phenomenal game last night in a 10-point loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. It was a homecoming for him as he's from Southern California. He went to UCLA. It was a homecoming game. And despite his great play overall, it was a loss for the Miami Heat. Luka had another Luka-esque night, and he's insane. There's no way around it. But then you look at the draft compensation that would be required, at least based off these mock trades, to then acquire Ja Morant. And if you want to look at other ones and compare them to those, Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Pelle Larsson, as well as then 2 draft picks, both first-rounders, these are substantial. Like, these are legitimately massive trade packages. Why would you take a chance on Ja Morant, who has not really shown you he has matured up to this point in his career, despite having all this money as a professional and an all-star level basketball player and having the money he is being paid? The maturity is still not at the level in which these owners and these GMs and these head coaches and coaching staffs would all really hope to have in multi-billion-dollar businesses in these organizations. Again, he's getting paid, $29 million this year, $42 next year, and $44 in 2027, 2028, before becoming an unrestricted free agent in that 5-year, $197 million max extension he signed with Memphis just 2.5 seasons ago. This would be not only heavy financially in the sense of price they would have to pay him going forward, but then the depth you would then lose to then just acquire one undersized guard in Ja Morant who can't shoot the ball all that well and relies on finishing at the rim despite not being the biggest person in the world or biggest guy on the floor at least. I absolutely hate this entire idea for Miami specifically. If another team is out there and is willing to give up some draft picks, a lot of draft picks at that, as well as some good complementary players, if not all-stars, this is crazy for Miami to even consider, in my opinion. Let me know down below your overall thoughts and opinions on this entire idea of a move for Miami and what some of these trade packages would have to look like for Miami to actually go out there and do that. I would be fully against this. Tyler for Ja is not anything I would even remotely consider because we haven't seen Tyler play with this team, and we've seen how good this Miami Heat team has been up to this point. Also, the depth. If you're losing Jaquez, Pelle Larsson, Andrew Wiggins, or any collection of these guys, as well as possibly more, like that is substantial. Look at the depth you would then lose on a team in Miami that uses so much of their depth, uses and plays in a way this season specifically, and it has to be, we have to look at it that way because they've never done it, especially at the rate and efficiencies they have up to this point, top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiencies. They play so fast, which again is a rarity. Thankfully, we have not seen it before, and now they are doing it at a high level. This is a lot of fun to watch, and to throw a wrench and everything and going out and acquiring Ja Morant and taking a massive risk. Without a doubt, it would be the biggest risk for this Miami Heat organization in at least the last 2 decades, if not plus, in the entirety of the organization. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. And make sure to let me know down below your overall thoughts and opinions on this move.